The rain wasn't falling gently that night. It was sharp, cold, and relentless, each drop biting into my skin like a reminder that I was truly alone. I stood at the bus stop, with a small bag clutched to my chest, my fingers numb, my shoes soaked through. The streetlight above flickered, casting a weak yellow glow on the wet pavement. Cars passed by without slowing, their tires splashing dirty water onto the curb. No one noticed me. No one cared. Just an hour earlier I had been sitting in a warm car, surrounded by people I thought were my family. I was wrong. I still remember how the evening started. My brother had insisted on driving me home after a family dinner. "It's late," he said, "and it's raining. You shouldn't be alone." I believed him. The car was filled with quiet tension, no music, no conversation. My sister-in-law stared out the window, arms crossed. My brother kept his eyes on the road, jaw clenched like he was holding something back. Halfway through the drive, he suddenly slowed down. "Get out here," he said flatly. I laughed nervously. "What?" "This is close enough." I looked around. We were nowhere near my apartment, just a lonely bus stop, rain pouring down, darkness stretching in every direction. "You can't be serious," I whispered. He pulled over anyway. My sister-in-law turned to me, her voice cold. "We've done enough for you. Figure the rest out yourself." Before I could respond, my brother opened my door, grabbed my bag, and shoved it into my hands. "Get out," he said. Now, the moment my feet hit the pavement, the car door slammed shut. The engine roared. Red taillights blurred through the rain, and just like that, they were gone. I stood there, stunned, rain soaking my hair, my clothes, my thoughts. I called my brother's name, my voice swallowed by the storm. No answer. I checked my phone, 5% battery. I called him anyway. Straight to voicemail. I called my mother. No answer. Again. Nothing. The cold crept in slowly, then all at once, my teeth began to chatter. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped my phone. I wrapped my coat tighter around myself. But it was thin, never meant for weather like this. I sat on the metal bench, which felt like ice beneath me. Water dripped from the roof of the bus shelter, landing on my shoulder again and again, as if the night itself was tapping me to remind me I hadn't woken from this nightmare. Why would they do this? That question echoed in my head, over and over, louder than the rain. I had helped my brother when he was unemployed. I had watched their kids for free. I had lent money I never got back. I had swallowed insults, stayed quiet during family gatherings, smiled when I wanted to cry. And still, I was disposable. My phone died. The darkness felt heavier after that. I hugged my knees, trying to preserve what little warmth I had left. I thought about all the times I'd defended my family to others, all the times I'd said, "They're not bad people, they just have their moments." I wondered if this was my moment. The rain slowed, but the cold intensified. My clothes clung to my skin, icy and uncomfortable. My lips felt stiff. My head throbbed. I don't know how long I sat there. Minutes felt like hours. Hours felt endless. Then I heard footsteps. An older woman approached the bus stop, holding an umbrella that shook in the wind. She stopped when she saw me. "Oh my God," she said softly. "Are you okay?" I tried to speak, but my voice cracked. I think so." She looked me over my soaked clothes, trembling hands, hollow eyes. "Come with me," she said without hesitation. "My house is nearby. You can warm up." I hesitated. I had been taught to be careful, to not trust strangers, but the people I trusted most had already abandoned me. So I nodded. Her home was small but warm, smelling of tea and clean laundry. She handed me a towel, then another, then a thick blanket. My hands burned as they warmed, pain rushing back into numb fingers. "Sit," she said. "I'll make soup." As I sat there, steam rising from my clothes, something inside me finally broke. Silent tears slid down my face, unnoticed at first, then unstoppable. She didn't ask questions. She just placed a mug of hot tea in my hands and let me cry. When I finally spoke, my words came out slowly, shakily. I told her everything. She listened. When I finished, she sighed and said, "Sometimes the people who should protect us are the ones who hurt us the most." I slept on her couch that night. For the first time in weeks, I slept deeply. In the morning, she helped me charge my phone. There were missed calls hours later from my brother. One message: "You overreacted. You could have taken the bus." I stared at the screen, my chest tight. No apology, no concern, just blame. That was the moment I understood something important. They didn't leave me because of the rain. They left me because they believed I'd survive, no matter how badly they treated me. And they were right, but not in the way they expected. I thanked the woman again and again before leaving. She wrote her number on a piece of paper and slipped it into my hand. "Call me if you ever need anything," she said. "You're not alone." I stepped outside into the cold morning air, but it felt different now, lighter, bearable, because I had learned something in that freezing rain at the bus stop. Family is not defined by blood, love is not proven by words, and strength is not staying where you are unwanted. Sometimes survival begins the moment you're left behind, and sometimes the coldest nights lead you to the warmest truths to hide. I thought leaving that woman's house would feel like freedom. Instead, it felt like stepping back into a world that had already decided I was expendable. The morning air was sharp, cutting through my lungs as I walked toward the bus stop, a different one this time. The streets were quieter now, washed clean by the storm. But inside me, everything felt heavier. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Mom. "Brother, Mom says you're being dramatic. Call her when you calm down." I didn't reply. For the first time in my life, I didn't rush to explain myself. The bus ride home was long and silent. I stared out the window as neighborhoods passed by, houses glowing with warmth, people inside starting their day. Somewhere between two stops, I realized something painful. I'd always been the extra seat in my family, necessary when needed, ignored when inconvenient. When I finally reached my apartment, I stood outside for a moment, key in hand, just breathing. It was small, old, and far from perfect, but it was mine. I stepped inside and locked the door behind me. Then I collapsed onto the floor and cried like I hadn't cried at the bus stop. Later that afternoon, my mother finally called. I let it ring twice before answering. "Where were you last night?" she asked, not worried, not panicked, accusing. "You know where I was," I said quietly. "They left me," she sighed. "Why do you always make things sound so serious?" Something inside me snapped, not loudly, not dramatically, but cleanly, like a thread finally breaking. "They left me in freezing rain," I said, "at night, with a dying phone." A pause. Then she said, "Your brother said you argued with his wife." I laughed once, short and hollow. "So that makes it okay?" Another sigh. "Families fight. You should have been more patient." Patient. That word had followed me my entire life like a curse disguised as advice. Be patient. Be understanding. Be the bigger person. I hung up without saying goodbye. That evening, I sat alone in my apartment, replaying memories I had tried so hard to bury. The time my brother borrowed money and never paid it back. The holidays where I cooked, cleaned, and sat alone while everyone else laughed. The birthdays forgotten. The jokes made at my expense. I had mistaken tolerance for love, and it nearly froze me to death. Days passed. I stopped calling first. No one checked on me. Not really. Then one afternoon, there was a knock at my door. It was my sister-in-law. She stood there with crossed arms and a tight smile. "Can we talk?" she asked. I stepped aside. She didn't sit. "We didn't mean to leave you," she said quickly. "You're twisting things." I leaned against the counter, arms shaking, not from cold this time, but anger. "You drove away," I said. "In the rain. At night." She shrugged. "You're an adult. You could have figured it out." The same words again. I looked at her and realized something terrifying. She truly didn't see a problem. "I trusted you," I said. She scoffed. "You're too sensitive." There it was. The sentence that had justified every cruelty I'd ever endured. I opened the door. "We're done," I said. Her smile vanished. "Don't be dramatic. Get out." She stared at me, stunned, then grabbed her bag and left without another word. I locked the door. My hands were steady. That night, I dreamed of the bus stop again, but this time, I was walking away from it. A week later, my brother sent a long message. He talked about stress, about his marriage, about how hard life had been for him. At the end, he wrote, "You know we love you." I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I typed back one sentence, "Love doesn't abandon," and I blocked his number. Something strange happened after that. The silence hurt, but it also healed. Without constant judgment, my mind felt clearer. I started sleeping better, eating regularly, breathing deeply. I took on extra hours at work, saved money, repainted my apartment walls a warm, calm color. I stopped waiting for apologies that would never come. One evening, my phone buzzed, a message from the woman who had helped me that night. "Just checking in. Hope you're warm." I smiled. A stranger had shown me more care than my own family. Winter deepened. Snow replaced rain. And yet, I felt warmer than I ever had before. On a cold December night, I walked past the same bus stop where everything had changed. The bench was empty, dusted with snow. The streetlight still flickered. I stood there for a moment, remembering the fear, the shaking, the loneliness. Then I turned and walked home. I don't tell people this story for sympathy. I tell it because somewhere out there, someone is being told to be patient while freezing emotionally. Because someone is standing in the rain, wondering what they did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes, being left behind is the beginning of finally choosing yourself. And once you learn how to walk away from the cold, you never beg for warmth again. Weeks after I blocked my brother, life became strangely quiet. No messages, no drama. No sudden demands, just silence, heavy at first, then peaceful. But silence has a way of waking buried truths. Without their voices in my head, memories surfaced like ghosts. Not just the bus stop, but the years leading to it. I started writing everything down in a notebook late at night, hands shaking as words poured out. The neglect, the manipulation, the way my pain had always been minimized. I wasn't too sensitive. I had been ignored. One evening, my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Hello, it's Mom." Her voice sounded different, careful, almost soft. "I didn't know you blocked your brother," she said. "I didn't announce it," I replied. Silence. Then she said, "He's been under a lot of stress." There it was again. I closed my eyes. So was I. At the bus stop, she inhaled sharply. "Why do you keep bringing that up?" Because it almost broke me. But I didn't say that. "I'm done pretending it didn't matter," I said instead. She sighed. "You're tearing this family apart." I laughed, not kindly. "No," I said. "I just stopped holding it together by myself." She didn't respond. When she finally spoke, her voice was colder. "Your brother said you embarrassed him by telling people." "I didn't tell people," I said. "I survived." That was the end of the call. 2 days later, I ran into my aunt at the grocery store. She looked startled when she saw me. "Oh," she said. "So you're okay?" I raised an eyebrow. "Why wouldn't I be?" She hesitated. "Well, your brother said you had some sort of breakdown, that you stormed out and refused help." My chest tightened. So this was the story they were telling. I took a breath. "He left me at a bus stop in freezing rain." Her face changed. "He what?" I didn't add drama. I didn't raise my voice. I just told the truth. By the time I finished, she was silent. "That's not what we were told," she whispered. I nodded. "It never is. The lies didn't hurt as much as they used to, because I had stopped needing their approval." I started therapy shortly after that. It felt strange at first, saying things out loud that I had swallowed for years, but my therapist said something that stayed with me. "Abandonment doesn't always look like someone leaving," she said. "Sometimes it looks like people staying and refusing to care." That sentence hit harder than the cold rain ever had. Then came the apology. Not the real kind, the convenient kind. My brother emailed me pages long. He talked about misunderstandings, about emotions, about forgiveness. He never said, "I'm sorry I left you." Instead, he wrote, "We all made mistakes. I stared at the screen, and for the first time I didn't feel angry. I felt clear. I replied with 3 sentences. You left me in danger. You blamed me for surviving it. I don't accept apologies that erase truth. Then I blocked his email too. A month later, my mother showed up at my door. Unannounced, I opened it and felt the old fear rise, automatic familiar. But I didn't step back. She looked around my apartment, taking in the fresh paint, the calm, the quiet. You look different, she said. I am, I replied. She sat down heavily. Your brother is struggling. I stayed silent. She frowned. Aren't you going to ask how? No. Her eyes widened. After everything we've done for you. There was the bill. I met her gaze. You taught me something important. And what's that? That love with conditions isn't love. Her face hardened. So you're punishing us? I shook my head. I'm protecting myself. She stood up, angry now. You'll regret this. Maybe, but regret was better than freezing to death emotionally. She left. I locked the door, and nothing in me shattered. That night, I walked again, past the bus stop, past the streetlight, past the memory. This time I didn't stop, because I wasn't that person anymore. I had learned that being alone is not the same as being abandoned, and the people who leave you in the cold, they don't deserve access to your warmth. Spring came quietly, not with miracles or dramatic moments, but with small changes that added up to something solid. I woke up earlier. I cooked real meals. I started taking long walks after work, letting my thoughts settle instead of spiral. For the first time, my life wasn't shaped by waiting for approval, apologies, or invitations that never came. I was living. Therapy taught me language for things I had felt my whole life but never understood. Boundaries, gaslighting, emotional neglect. Naming the pain didn't make it worse, it gave it shape. And once something has a shape, it can be handled. One evening, my therapist asked, what would your life look like if you stopped carrying other people's guilt? I went home and wrote the answer on a piece of paper. Quiet, safe, mine. That summer, I was offered a promotion at work. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable. And stability felt like luxury after chaos. I bought new furniture slowly, piece by piece. A soft chair by the window. A lamp that made the room feel warm at night. I invited the woman who had helped me that night over for dinner. We laughed, we talked, we shared stories. She told me, some people are angels for one night, others are storms for a lifetime. I knew exactly which ones my family had been. The first real test came in Mom, cousin called. We're having a family gathering, she said carefully. Mom wants you there. I felt my chest tighten, but it didn't collapse this time. Is my brother coming? I asked. Yes. Then I won't, she hesitated. People say you're holding a grudge. I smiled softly, sadly. No, I said. I'm holding a boundary. After I hung up, I didn't cry. That was how I knew I was healing. Life has a strange way of circling back. In winter, almost exactly 1 year after the bus stop night, my brother reached out again. This time, it wasn't about emotions, it was about money. He had lost his job. Bills were piling up. He needed help. He wrote, "You're the only one I can ask." I stared at the message for a long time. I remembered the rain, the shaking hands, the empty street, the car driving away. I typed one sentence. You taught me to figure things out on my own, and I blocked the number. My hands didn't shake. A week later, my mother called from another number. You've changed, she said bitterly. Yes, I replied calmly. That was the point. You used to be kinder. I took a breath. I used to disappear to keep everyone else comfortable. She was silent. Then, softly, we did our best. I didn't argue, because sometimes people say we did our best, when what they mean is we don't want to take responsibility. I hope you're okay, I said and meant it. Then I ended the call. That night I walked to the bus stop one last time. Snow fell lightly, peaceful this time. I stood under the same flickering streetlight. But I wasn't cold, I wasn't waiting, I wasn't afraid. I whispered to the version of myself who once sat there shaking. You survived. They don't get to define you. This is not where your story ends. Then I walked away. I don't believe in revenge, but I believe in consequences. And sometimes the consequence is simple. You lose access to someone who loved you deeply because you didn't protect them when it mattered. Today, my life is quiet. Not lonely. Quiet. The kind of quiet where you can hear your own thoughts and trust them. The kind of quiet that feels like safety. If you're listening to this story and you've been left in the cold emotionally or physically, please hear this. You don't have to earn basic human care. You don't owe loyalty to people who abandon you, and choosing yourself is not cruelty. Sometimes the bus stop is not the end. It's the place where you finally decide to walk home to yourself. I used to think that night at the bus stop was the worst moment of my life. Standing there in freezing rain, soaked to the bone, abandoned by the people I loved most. I believed nothing could hurt more than that. But I was wrong. What hurt more was how long I had believed I deserved it. For years I had confused endurance with love. I thought staying silent made me strong. I thought accepting less made me loyal. I thought being patient would eventually earn me care. That night didn't break me. It woke me up, because when the rain stopped and the street grew quiet, I saw the truth clearly. For the first time, the people who left me weren't confused, busy, or overwhelmed. They made a choice, and so did I. From that moment forward. I chose myself. Healing didn't arrive all at once. It came in small, quiet ways. In learning to say no without guilt. In locking my door without fear. In understanding that love never asks you to disappear to survive. I stopped explaining my pain to people who were committed to misunderstanding it. I stopped begging for warmth from those who only offered cold. And slowly, my life began to feel safe. Not perfect, not dramatic, just safe. Today, I no longer measure my worth by how much I give or how much I endure. I measure it by peace, by honesty, by the way my heart no longer races when the phone rings. The bus stop still exists. The streetlight still flickers, but it no longer haunts me. Because that place is not a symbol of my abandonment anymore. It is the place where I learned my value. If you are listening to this, and you have ever been left behind emotionally, physically, or silently, please remember this. You are not weak for feeling pain. You are not dramatic for remembering it. And you are not cruel for walking away from those who harm you. Sometimes, people don't lose us because we stop loving them. They lose us because we finally start loving ourselves. That night in the freezing rain didn't end my story. It began the chapter where I stopped waiting to be chosen and chose myself instead. And that choice changed everything.